Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a breakdown for the teaser trailer that recently released for the Fallout TV show. So we're going to start off with the depiction of vaults in the show, very Fallout 4. This is something that I, and I'm pretty sure everybody else, was expecting for them to just take the Fallout 4 art style and put it into this TV show format. I, for one, am not really a fan of the Fallout 4 art style. So we see our first look at the first main character, which is Lucy, played by the actress Ella Purnell. She's a vault dweller, and I appreciate the fact that she describes how she's lived a relatively comfortable life, which just shows the disconnect between the vaults and the outside world. If you describe vault life versus wasteland life as relatively comfortable, that shows just how comfortable that vault life really is. And I'm curious to see that sort of fish out of water vibe that her character seems to give, where, I mean, she's even afraid of a tumbleweed, floating through the desert, and that's because she's never seen one. And this is something where I feel like putting Fallout in the confines of a show would actually kind of improve the experience to a certain degree, because we don't get to experience that ignorance when we play the games, because we know how the world works. We, as the players, we have that sort of outside knowledge. If I'm playing Fallout 3 and I'm in the DC Metro and I see a train, I know that that's a train. I know what trains are. I know what trains do. Somebody in the wasteland of Fallout in 2277, or whichever game we're talking about, 2287, 2291 in the context of the show, they're not going to necessarily know what that is. They're not going to understand what they're looking at, or what it's meant to be, or whatever original purpose it might have had. And that's something that you can write into a TV show and have the actors pretend like they don't know, and kind of provide that experience to us as the viewers of like, wow, this is genuinely like, if we were to make Fallout a reality today, and hopefully we don't, this is how people would see things. They wouldn't understand. They'd have these archaic, borderline stupid ideas of how the old world worked. They'd enter that metro tunnel in Fallout 3 and they'd see a train and they'd think it's some metallic snake god that used to slither through the world prior to the bombs dropping, and people would come down here to worship it, but now there's nobody to worship it, and now the snake god is dead. Something stupid like that. Like, for us, it's like, no man, it's a train. But so there's a dog in the show. What role is it going to play? I know it's probably going to have a major role. It's probably going to be this show's dog meat, and they'll probably even call it dog meat, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing that would suggest that, but I mean, it's a dog in a Fallout game, you know what I mean? And dog meat's already kind of been shown to have this kind of otherworldly, almost supernatural presence about the dog. So, and here we see our second main character, Maximus. And if you're me, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. You finally get to see the Brotherhood of Steel. Well, you've kind of already seen the Brotherhood of Steel in the context of the TV show, but now we're getting like a genuine, it's not some guy recording some 10-second teaser trailer on his smartphone from the nosebleeds at Gamescom. We see the vertibirds, we see the power armor, we see their air base, so on and so forth. Now, I don't like this Brotherhood of Steel. I mean, I've made it no mystery in the past of which iteration of the faction that I prefer. This is coming from somebody who used to be a super huge fan of Fallout 4 and the Fallout 4 Brotherhood of Steel. I'm not anymore. I get that there's an interest in it. I understand why people like it. Now, I've seen some confusion on the part of fans about how the Brotherhood is so, I want to say, outgoing in its depiction, being that it's not hidden away in some underground bunker. It's in this big giant airfield. They're flying around on vertibirds. They have an airship, which we see later in the trailer. The Caswinen, I believe it's pronounced. It's another Welsh word, kind of like Prydwen, but it's not the Prydwen, so keep that in mind. And, because this is supposed to be West Coast, and Lucy's character is in Los Angeles. I completely forgot to mention that she's in California. So people are like, well, is this a California Brotherhood? And I was super concerned that it was. One, because obviously, the California Brotherhood of Steel is not going to be flying around in vertibirds. They're not going to be living on an airbase. They're going to be underground, and they're going to be kind of in hiding, sort of in secret. but not really in secret because everybody knows where Lost Hills is at this point. But like, you know, they're hidden away. And also, I like to have that original Brotherhood preserved, at least in some capacity, and not be turned into another Fallout 4 clone. Like, I would just, that would ruin it for me. The NCR all pretty much won the Brotherhood NCR war, and the Brotherhood, especially in California, should be in hiding. But the reason why they're here in the show and in the way that they are is because apparently this is not California that we're seeing right here. It looks like California, and I could kind of believe that it is. I mean, I've never been to California, but if you told me this was California, I'd believe you. According to Tunnel Snake's Fool, channel that I probably don't need to introduce you to, it's substantially larger than mine. Correct! But she had a source kind of inform her that this location right here that we're seeing, this airbase is a real place, is in Utah. I think what we're seeing is a Brotherhood of Steel chapter in Utah. And the reason why I want to say that is because this would be the smartest thing the showrunners could do if they want to have a Brotherhood of Steel chapter in their show without impacting the pre-existing lore, if that makes sense. If you set it in Utah, which is technically the Midwest, I would consider it the Midwest, you could fill in that gap that Tactics left behind when it was more or less axed from the canonical timeline. And so they're probably fighting the NCR. And so that's probably who we're going to see them do battle with. Hello, dear viewer. Editing me here. I wanted to say that they could also be fighting the Enclave, given that there is a long sort of rivalry between the two factions. Also, the Lonesome Road DLC for Fallout New Vegas mentions that there is, or at least there was, some Enclave presence in and around the city of Chicago, which is in the Midwest. It's not in Utah, but it could still, they could be expanding down into this area, because that is one of the locations that Eddie visited after leaving Adams Air Force Base. To try and summarize the point that I'm making, though, by mentioning the NCR, some people seem to be under the impression that the NCR won't be in the show. They will. Other leaked set photos showed a vault sort of schoolroom that had an NCR flag in the background. So they will be in the show. How they're going to be depicted, what their strength is at this current moment, is anybody's guess, but they are going to be in the show. So, I want to jump to a quick scene where we see this like kind of chaotic battle, this melee ensuing within some vault. And I'm going to jump to the conclusion that this is Vault 33, that this is Lucy's vault, and that perhaps Vault 33 was never given a means of producing food, so it has no like food processing facilities, and they have to grow their own food, which is why we see crops inside the vault. And I'm going to wager that for some reason the crops aren't growing anymore, and I guess as part of the social experiment the food is starting to fail, and now we're starting to see the vault kind of descend into chaos and anarchy as people are panicking. They're fighting over what they're going to do. Maybe they don't think that Lucy is qualified or capable enough to get the job done, and she's just going to go out there and get herself killed, and by extension everybody else, because instead of sending out other people to search for solutions, they're hedging all of their bets on her, and they're expecting her to fail. Now we come to what some are saying is going to be our third main character. I think he's going to be a main character. I don't think he's going to be as big of a main character as Lucy or Maximus. If I'm not mistaken, the first season is supposedly going to be somewhere between 8 to 10 episodes. I just don't see how you could fit 3 main arcs into 8 to 10 episodes, but I could be wrong. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Walton Goggins is going to be known primarily as the Ghoul, but his character's original name prior to becoming a Ghoul was Cooper Howard. Cooper Howard, prior to the Great War, was an actor. And based off of something we're going to see later, I'm assuming Cooper Howard was probably this like known for being something of like a cowboy character, like he made Western type films or a Western type show in the Fallout universe before the bombs fell. And perhaps he earned himself a place as a spokesman for Vault-Tec, and he kind of brought that cowboy persona with him to help sell vault spots to people.
Well, I may play a hero in the movies, but we were heroes in real life.
You know, we see him here in the town called Philly, which is in LA, because of course it is. Why would a town called Philly be anywhere else?
In West Philadelphia.
I would guess that his character is going to become something of a mentor figure to Lucy and kind of teach her how to survive. He's going to take her under his wing and help her not die in this shitty, awful wasteland. Oh boy. Now, I don't have a problem with a Cyclops being in anything Fallout related. Honestly, I think it's fine. And I get that the main complaint, the main question is, but this is a vault. What is a one-eyed guy doing in a vault? What is a Cyclops doing in a vault? And, you know, obviously they're like, oh, well, they're just going to write it off as a Vault-Tec experiment. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a vault. You know, like, there are experiments in a vault. Almost every single vault has some type of experiment associated with it. There's another thing, too, which was that other earlier stills show ghouls living in a vault. And I mean living in a vault, like jumpsuit and all. So my guess is that Lucy is going to visit this vault, which I believe is Vault 32, and I'm guessing it's been opened, and it's going to be just another portion of the community, and perhaps she's going to hear about it through rumor mills, or it's going to be a known location throughout the New California Republic, and that Vault 32 has residents who aren't descended from those who entered when the bombs fell, such as the ghoul that I had mentioned earlier, who actually looks really good, if you ask me, as far as like makeup and such goes. Like, that's actually like a ghoul, or at least it's more so than Walton Goggins' character, which I believe that they have some explanation written in. There's something special about Cooper Howard that when he ghoulified, it didn't affect him as much, or it kind of halted, or it wasn't as severe. Now, that is a write-off, just so you don't have to hide Walton Goggins' face under 50 pounds of ghoul makeup. I also want to point out, because people have also made jokes, they're like, a Cyclops with 2 eyebrows? Does, you know, Bethesda, does Jonathan Nolan not know how, you know, eyes and eyebrows work? No, I think they precisely know how eyes and eyebrows work. I think that that is meant to clue us in that this is not a natural mutation, if that makes sense. This is not, like, this guy probably wasn't born this way. This is probably something that was done to him, or something that happened to him throughout the course of his life, which is why he has 2 eyebrows, because he originally had 2 eyes. That's my theory about this character and about this vault. And I want to say that this vault is probably going to be the opposite of Lucy's vault, because we see that there's a lot of coffee mugs around his office, and he's like, oh, I grabbed a moldy one by accident.
I grabbed a moldy one.
I think that that's meant to imply to us that perhaps Vault 32 has this like abundance of resources, maybe, whereas Lucy's vault had like a bad food processing unit, or it didn't produce enough water, or whatever. Her vault is struggling. Vault 32 is not. Vault 32 has probably never struggled in its entire existence, which is why they seem to take so much for granted, and they're so wasteful, where he still has tons of still full coffee mugs lying around his office, so much that they're growing mold. And I think part of her confusion and her surprise and her shock on her face is not just from the fact that she's talking to a Cyclops, but like just how casual he is with like, oh, nah, one of those damn moldy coffee mugs, am I right? Sometimes you gotta pour these things out. You know, go figure. It's kind of like, damn, like you don't understand. Like, not only is it bad in the wasteland, but it's bad in other vaults, you know, and like, but here's this guy who's just like, coffee, yeah, whatever, we got a ton of that. You know, food, whatever, we got a ton of that. You know, and I feel like there's going to be that disconnect, and perhaps clue her in that maybe the vaults aren't precisely what they appear to be. Is that ignorance that came with being born and raised in a vault isn't just going to sort of blind her to the reality of the wasteland, it's going to blind her to the reality of other vaults. She's going to have assumed that all other vaults are like hers. They all have the same problems, they all have the same issues. And she's going to learn here, most likely, that they don't. And perhaps she's going to start asking why. Now, whether or not she'll get answers, and by extension we, the audience, will get answers, is anybody's guess. Here we get a shot of a Mr. Handy. I'm assuming it's a Mr. Handy. It doesn't look like a Mr. Gutsy. It's carrying out Mr. Handy-like procedures with what looks like Lucy on a gurney. So I'm curious, perhaps she's going to get injured and maybe she gets patched up. Moving on, here we see Hank, the overseer of Vault 33 and Lucy's father, portrayed by Colin McLaughlin, who I also recognize. Twin Peaks, the original Dune movie. That's Paul Atreides, my guy. And here we see what looks like a knight, Brotherhood knight, incapacitated. His armor is damaged. We could see pieces of it are missing. And perhaps he was hit by some type of explosion, some large explosion that has incapacitated him, knocked him unconscious in some regard. We see him moving in just a bit, so I don't think he's dead. But he could even be paralyzed. I don't know. Part of me wants to assume that this is the knight we saw earlier sitting in the Vertibird with Maximus. Maximus is said to be a squire of the Brotherhood of Steel, and he's being mentored by this knight. And if my understanding of film tropes and cliches is anything to go by, he and his mentor are going to go on a mission. His mentor is going to die, and Maximus is going to be on his own and kind of have to find his way back home, or find some way to accomplish an objective largely on his own. And in doing so, he is going to prove himself worthy of whatever mantle he was seeking. And in this case, it would be becoming a knight of the Brotherhood of Steel. And perhaps he'll accept it in the end, or perhaps he'll realize he doesn't need it and he will leave the Brotherhood. Who knows? Yes, here we see this Brotherhood knight getting attacked by this Yao Guai. And it's not looking very good. I mean, I imagine the knight would be okay. I mean, a Yao Guai is nothing to shy at. Like, it's a serious threat, but I don't think he's going to bite you through this armor. And here we see another character who I have heard some people suggest might be Lucy. I'm kind of inclined to agree. I mean, we can't see their face. We have no idea who this really is, but I'm assuming it's Lucy. And I am also in support of the theory that briefcase in her left hand is a Gek, and perhaps that is this MacGuffin, that is this device she is searching for to save her vault from whatever issues are plaguing it. This, at first, I thought was a Gulper, this enemy right here, but it's not. Apparently, this is something referred to as an axolotl. It also has fingers in its mouth for some reason. I'm not quite sure. I actually have no idea why there's fingers in it. I mean, clearly it's an FEV exposed creature, but FEV is known to like mutate creatures and make them big and nastier, but like, what part of that gives them fingers in their mouths? I don't know. It's just like, did this thing like fuse with a bunch of humans? Like, I don't know what it's creepy, don't get me wrong, it's weird, and it's spooky, and it's nasty, and it's hard to look at, but where did they come from? How did this come to be? This lady is obviously not having a good day. I'm guessing this is part of kind of the chaos that broke down within the vault, but somebody stabbed her in the eye with a fork, and now she's gone, and she's got the heater, and now she's airing this bitch out. So here we see the Caswanen, or the Caswanen. If you're a Welsh expert, feel free to correct me, but it's a Brotherhood airship. It is not the Prydwen from Fallout 4. Don't let that confuse you. So again, which makes sense for the Midwestern Brotherhood to have airships. That's kind of one of the things they were known for, of course. In Fallout Tactics, they crashed, but again, Fallout Tactics is up in the air as to how canonical, which parts of it are canon and which parts aren't.
Wasn't the Brotherhood's fleet of airships destroyed in Fallout Tactics?
So we could safely assume that the Brotherhood would still have an airship somewhere out in the Midwest. There's nothing necessarily wrong about that. And here we see Cooper Howard, Walton Goggins' character before he becomes a ghoul, as well as some small child with him. Now, I have a few theories as to what this could be. The most obvious is that this is Cooper Howard before the war, and that this is his daughter, and that perhaps he's trying to get her to safety as the bombs are falling. I don't think the blue and the yellow here is a coincidence, though. So another theory I have is that Cooper Howard was filming some type of a commercial for Vault-Tec as this like cowboy character, this cowboy persona that he's perhaps known for. But he's wearing a Vault-Tec themed cowboy outfit on the horse. And perhaps this girl is actually an actress, like a younger actress that he was working with for this commercial. And then the bombs fell, and perhaps all of the representatives there, all the employees there for Vault-Tec just dipped. They just ran off, as you would expect them to. But they left this kid behind, and perhaps Cooper Howard goes back to save her, or he just simply doesn't leave her behind. But it's something that results in them getting caught in the blast of the Great War. My guess is that this girl is not going to survive. She's either going to die in the bombings themselves, or she will die afterwards from radiation exposure. And if we really wanted to get dark with it, that same radiation that will slowly kill her will turn Howard into a ghoul, and he will have to sit there and kind of watch as he becomes this monster and she slowly dies. Again, that'll be really dark, but I mean, Fallout is really dark. People often remember the comedy, but Fallout is really dark, and we shouldn't forget that part about it either. And we certainly shouldn't expect it to be forgotten about when the show was being made. But that's my guess, is that Howard is not a bad guy, and he's certainly not a coward. And my guess is that he went back to save this kid, or he's trying to save this kid. Obviously, whether it's his daughter or not, we won't know until it's the show. But my guess is that, you know, this is what causes him to get caught out in the Great War. So here we see the final shot of the trailer, and it's going to be the final shot of our analysis now. But when I had first seen this, I was like, damn, this is the Great War. Like, these atomic explosions are looking pretty small. Like, they're not like, you think nuclear explosion, you think like, damn, like 2 of these things will wipe out the whole city, right? And I mean, they are small, but when you go back and you see this, as well as you see background of the shot with the character Cooper Howard and the younger girl here, you see this giant cloud in the background, which is visible here in the later frame. And so my guess is that this is like a genuine, like, just full-on, like, intercontinental nuclear warhead detonated in LA. And these are probably smaller sort of satellite bombs dropped around it to kind of increase the impact, increase the devastation, without actually having to drop like 2 massive warheads on the same city, if that makes sense. So, I mean, I don't know much about how nuclear arms works. I don't know much about nuclear warfare policy, or how countries would go about destroying one another in such a way, but my guess is that that's exactly what's going on here. It's a very cool shot, though, I'm not gonna lie. And that's the Fallout teaser trailer. I'll probably go back and add some analysis. I'll give it another quick watch over to see if I missed anything, but I don't believe that I did. Overall, I'm super confident in the show. I'm excited to see it. I mean, it's Fallout media. I will consume if the product is there. I'm not, fully on board with everything that the show has. Let me know in the comments what you think about the show. If you like the video, make sure to give it a like, comment. Let me know that you like it, what you liked about it, and subscribe. By clicking that little button, you'll be doing far more for me than you could ever possibly imagine, and I will be eternally grateful for it, as I am for all those who support my channel and all those who provide feedback and that discourse. I look forward to it. Most importantly, though, I hope you're doing well. I hope that you are happy with yourself and with the position you are in life. As for my videos, I hope to get back to making more of them. But having said that, I hope that you all are doing wonderful. I hope that you are all happy. I hope that you are all healthy. But above all else, I hope that you're being good to one another. Take care.
Money gone, fuck friends. I need a homie that know me when all these motherfucking cops be on me. I got problems. Ain't nobody